Hey guys, and welcome to /Rex Games. Today I'll be showing you how you can do some RTS unit select and move mechanics. So as we see before us here, we have some sort of game room, and we've got all these little creatures. For example, we have some civilians, we've got guys with guns, we've got construction workers, and these are going to simulate our units in our real-time strategy. So what we want to do is we want to click on a unit and left-click on a unit. We can see that he's selected, and we want to right-click to make him move. See? So he rotates to where he wants to go, and he moves there. Pretty cool. We also want to enable the shift to select multiple creatures or units. See that? Hold down shift and then I can keep clicking and it'll select all of them. Then when we left click again somewhere else in the game room, we want to deselect all the units that are selected. We also want to use the mouse to click and drag a box, which is going to select multiple units. Somewhat like the shift, but it's a lot faster. Check that out. Okay, so we're selecting multiple units, and notice when the unit is out of this green square or rectangle, select rectangle, it's not going to select it. Pretty cool. So yeah, so once we've selected a number of units, we want to right click to tell them to move. See? Right click to move, right click to move. Notice that all of these units have different variables. I mean, some have a different speed to others. To simulate a real unit, So when we create them, it's going to give them a different speed depending on what type of sprite each instance gets. So those are the concepts that we're going to be working at today. We're going to have the select concept, we're going to have the drag to multiple select, like that. So we're going to have the shift click, and then also the right click. So once the unit is selected, right click is going to tell him to move to where the mouse currently is. So let's jump straight into this project. If you want to at this present time and download the project file to work along through it with me, that's a great idea. It'll help you understand things. Or you can even start a new project. I'm going to include all these little minion guys and all the sprite resources in the description. So if you'd like to start a new project, import all the sprites, and then work along and add things with me instead of just reading it along, that's probably even better. But it depends on your whole learning style. So let's jump right into the project file and I'll show you how we can accomplish this. Right, so here we are in the project file. If I go to my sprites over here, notice I've got the various different kinds of units. We've got the Uzi man, we've got the AK dude over there, we've got the dual pistols, we've got the shotgun dude, and we've got the civilian who's just got nothing, and the worker's got a hard hat on. Right, so those are all our unit types that we've added there. And then we've also got the selector. This is going to be that thing that spins around them once they have been selected. That's why I've called it sprite selector. Then we've got the go to. When we right click, it's going to create a go to animation, which looks like this. If we show preview, see? Pretty cool. So as soon as we right click and we're telling a unit to move, it's going to create this little animation where the unit's supposed to move, and it's going to fade away and destroy itself. So it's just so the user can see, yes, I've clicked there, that's where he's moving to, that's all fine. So now we're going to create our object that's going to handle these units, right? And then what I'm going to do is, in the create, I'm just going to tell it to randomly, assign one of these sprites to that object. So create an object, we're going to call it minion. I'm going to give it a sprite here. Oh, we can. Let's just give it a civilian default sprite just in case. Add a create event, drag in some code over here. Now you could say sprite index equals choose, and then say sprite something, like sprite Uzi, and then sprite AK like this, blue AK. I did that earlier. For some reason, it sometimes would mess up my sprites and give them a selector. It was terrible. So what I'm going to do rather is I'm going to create first randomize. I want to randomize the seed here. What I want to do is I want to create a temporary variable n, and just give it like a random variable between 0 and 5. Then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on this variable. Give it 5 cases. 0, 2, previously break, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to give it a default, which doesn't need a break, obviously, because it's at the end. Let's just make this bigger, actually. Okay, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to give each sprite its own set of variables, so that, a worker sprite might be faster than a dude holding a giant machine gun, that kind of thing. So here we say, sprite index equals SPR. I'm going to give this the blue worker. And then next here we're going to have movement speed. This is the speed in which they move when we tell them to. 3. And also rotation speed. Remember, they do rotate when we tell them where to go. So that's also going to be a factor of, what kind of units are great. Let's copy this everywhere. Okay, so this is SPR blue. And here we're going to say Uzi. SPR blue AK. SPR blue. And here we're going to have dual. Oops. There we go. And lastly, SPR blue shotgun. Oh, we mustn't forget the default actually. Default is going to be civilian, you know. Okay, so let's just give these some random things. I mean, let's see. Uzi, he's going to be fast. AK guy's going to be slower, so let's give him a 3 and 3. Deal dude, yeah, let's give him a 6 and 5. Shotgun's going to be a 4-3 maybe, that sounds fun. And civilian, really slow civilian, they don't know what they're doing, so 2-2. So there we go. We have randomized the seed, we have created a random variable between 0 and 5, and here we are, using the variable to determine what sprite this object will get. So now we need to say image angle equals, I'm just going to say irandom 360. I just wanted to face a random direction to simulate jumping into the RTS experience. Then obviously, it hasn't been selected yet, so it's false. Then our selector angle is going to be 0. And then obviously, moving equals false. Not moving yet. Right, random image angle. It's not been selected. That little selector angle, obviously, it doesn't exist yet, so its angle is going to be 0. When it's created, it's going to start at 0. And we're not moving. Okay, so that's done. So now we're going to add a left pressed event. When the player does press on this object minion, it's going to do some stuff. Here we go. So obviously, if not keyboard, check. And here we're going to say, this is the shift, so it's VK shift. Oh, shift. And off these. Okay, so if we're not holding the shift key, what we need to do is we need to cycle through all the minions. Come on. And what we need to do is say selected equals false. So if we're not holding shift, it means when we're clicking a random minion, it means that we're not clicking any of the other minions, so deselect any other minion and only select this one. So that's what we're doing right over there. So that's pretty much what it does. Then at the end here we're saying selected equals true. So we're saying deselect all other minions and then make sure this one is selected. Just make sure that changes to object minion. Okay, so we've created the left pressed. So now what I want to do is add a global left pressed. And what this is going to do is, like when we're clicking randomly in the game room, we want to deselect all the minions that are selected because it's like deselecting. That's what we're doing. We're basically deselecting everything. So first we need to determine that we are not selecting a minion because we don't want to deselect when we're trying to select another minion. So here in our position meeting, and here we're going to say mouse X, mouse Y, and here's going to be object minion. Okay. Selected equals false. So if we click somewhere randomly in the room, and it's not on another minion, then everything's going to be false. So this object instance is going to be not selected anymore. Okay. So now we're going to create a global right pressed event. This is going to save the X and Y mouse coordinates and then tell this instance to move to it. So global mouse, let me move this up here. Mouse, global mouse, and then here we're going to say global right pressed. So global right pressed over there. Add some code. Here again, what we're going to say is, obviously first we need to make sure that we are selected because we want every other instance that's not selected to ignore it. Okay, so if we're selected, again, we're going to take this code here. Oh no, wait, we can't use position machine, sorry. I need to use place free to make sure there aren't any, like, I don't know, walls and stuff in the way. So if place free, because we don't know if there's going to be like walls and mazes and stuff. So we want to make sure we're not telling this instance to, move into a wall. So that's that. XX equals mouse X. YY equals mouse Y. So we're creating two variables here, XX and YY. We are saying that XX is where the mouse is right now. YY is where the mouse is in the Y corners right now. And once we've done that, it means we are allowed to move. So moving equals true. And also, we can create an instance of, let me see, or at xxyy. That's going to be that object go-to thing that we're going to create in a second. That's going to be the animation. Okay, so we're going to say, yeah, let's create that animation at where we've just right-clicked. Close these up, so that's good. Now that we've done that, we can use this moving variable to start this instance moving. So we're going to have a step event, and the step's going to say, well, if I'm allowed to move, then I'll move. So add a step, add some code. So, obviously, if we are selected, then we can tell that selector angle thing to spin a bit. There we go. Here I'm going to say plus equals 4. Should be quite fast. Then, of course, if moving equals true, if we're allowed to move, we can do stuff. Firstly, we're going to smoothly rotate towards the place we want to go to. If you don't know about how to do that, check out my smooth rotation tutorial. I'll put a link in the banner as well as in the description. So that's what we're doing here. We are saying pointer equals point direction, and then here's going to be point the x and y of this instance to the x and y. Those are the positions we grab there from the mouse when we right clicked. And then here we're going to say image angle plus equals sign, and then here we've got deg to rad. There we go, and then this needs our point direction minus our image angle. I think it was times rotation speed. Yeah, that's good. Oops. Just make sure I got enough brackets. Cool. Yeah, so that'll handle the smooth rotation. That's why, see, this rotation variable is from here. Rotation speed, rotation speed. So each one has a different rotation speed. So they're going to be rotating at a different speed. This is going to be moving at a different speed. So not all the units are the same. Now we're going to say, well, now we can move. Move, oops, towards point x, y, y at a speed of, again, let's go into our create, speed of movement speed. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to say, well, what do we do if we hit that speed? Because it's always going to be saying, every step it's going to be saying, movement's true. Okay, make sure we are smoothly rotating, and then move. And then we've got to say here, well, we need to make sure that when we get to the point, moving becomes false, and then it just, doesn't do this anymore. So, here we're going to say, if distance to point, and then here again, whoops, we've got x, y, y. Is that finished? Is equal to 0. So if the distance to the point is equal to 0, then moving equals false. Done. See? Simple like that. Then here we're going to say else. So if moving is false, then simply we set speed equal to 0. So making sure we are standing dead still because we are not moving. Just like that. So yeah, if we are selected, then make sure the selecting thingy that spins around our player is spinning. If we are moving, smoothly rotate towards the point we're moving to and move to it. Then also we're saying, well, if we've arrived at that position, we're no longer moving, and then if we are no longer moving, over here this else, it says speed equals 0, and we stop. Just like that. And lastly, we just want to add a draw event over here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to draw that little selector. So if selected is true, then you're going to say draw sprite ext. This is sprite selector, I think it was called. Let's see if this pops up. Yes, it will. And that's our subimage 0. Our x and y are where the player is. Our scale is 1 on 1. Rotation here is going to be our selector angle. See white, and I'm going to give it a 0.7 transparency. Yeah, that's cool. And obviously we're going to tell the player to draw self. Just like that. Okay, so it's going to be drawing the selector, then it's going to be drawing ourselves, so we're on top of the selector. That's pretty cool. Dun 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 dun. That's all good. So now remember, in our right pressed over here, we created this object goTo. So let's create that little animation thing quick. It's very simple. Let's add it here. Object goTo. It's going to have that sprite goTo. Then it's going to have a create event, which is going to tell it over here to set its image speed equal to 0.3. Okay, that's the speed in which it animates. Okay. Then we're going to add a step event, and we're going to tell it to fade, and then when it hits a 0 alpha, then it just deletes itself. Image, oops, alpha. Minus equals 0.05 if image alpha is less than equal to 0, instance destroy. Just like that. Cool. So that's going to slowly fade, and when it's completely, invisible, it's going to delete itself. So that's going to handle the player movement. So now what we need to do is we need to create an object that's going to handle the click and the dragging to create that little box, and then everything inside that box is going to be selected. So we're going to create that now. Object, create object. Here we're going to say object draw select. Draw select, that's going to be our thingy. Okay, so obviously, firstly we have the create here. We're going to say selecting equals false, because we're not doing any selecting when it creates. Then here we're going to have a global mouse left pressed. This is when we start pressing. As soon as we hold that down, it's going to save some variables. Firstly, selecting is true. We're now selecting. Then it's going to say select x1. I'm going to copy this x1, y1, x2, y2. Because we need 2 coordinates. We need one x and y and second x and y, and then it's going to draw a square. So these we're going to grab from mouse x and mouse y. This is just setting up the first one pretty much, but we're also initializing the second one just in case. So yeah, so it's basically, this is the really important one there. It's grabbing the very first mouse x and mouse y over there, storing it in x1, y1, x2, y2. Then what I want to do is I want to create a custom event. Over here, add event, other, user defined 0. And this is going to, I'll show you exactly what we're going to do here. What this is going to do is we're going to create some temporary variables. x2, y1, x2, y2. And what we're going to do is we're going to, detect the rectangular bounds of the select rectangle. So make sure we have our borders. So here we got x1 equals, and we're going to grab the minimum between select, let's see, what was it here? Let's just grab these so we can use them just now. So that's going to be select x1 and select x2. Oops. Okay, then our y1 is going to be the min between y1 and y2. There we go. Then we've got our x2, and here we've got our y2, and these are going to both be the max of these. Just like that. So I want to make sure that our square is being drawn from the click down to something else, It looks cool. And while that's all happening, we need to now use these variables, and basically what we're doing is just cycling through all the minions, and we need to, on the fly, check if a minion is within this select rectangles. So that's what's happening right over here. So we're going to say firstly, if collision rectangle, and here it's asking for some coordinates, and here we say x1, y1, x2, y2, so those are the bounds of our rectangle. Object is going to be ID because it's whatever this object is. Sorry, it's going to be whatever object's here. This object minion's ID, instance ID. Then next, it says precise. No, we don't need precise. And not me, false. Okay, because it is including this minion. So if it's in that rectangle, if it collides with the space within that rectangle, then selected equals true. And here else. Now, you'd think you'd say selected equals false, but remember, we are also factoring in that whole shift click over here. Yeah, we want to make sure that we're able to shift to select multiple units. So ultimately, if we don't include another check over here, Sorry, let's grab this check actually. If we don't put this in, it's going to keep just deselecting minions at a later stage. So let's just copy and paste that in. And we can take that out and that. There we go. So if the minion is within that collision rectangle, then it is selected. And if it's selected, it means that we can right-click and tell it to move according to the code we put in the object minion. If it's not within that collision rectangle, and we are not pressing shift, then the selected equals false. And that means that it's not within the bounds. We don't need it to be selected anymore. So now that we've done that, we're going to create another event here, mouse. This is going to be our left released. Right here. So this is when we've clicked, we're dragging, our box, and we've released it. So it's going to save that second, select x2 and the select y2. So firstly, selecting equals false. We're no longer selecting. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch that event user 0. So we're not selecting, and we're going to tell it to do that event. Whatever's in that event, it's going to... Oh, whoops, not here. Sorry, this is wrong. It's got to go into here. Mouse, global, left released, paste. Delete that. Sorry, guys. Not in the minion. It goes, in the draw select. Global, left, released. So it's going to say, we're not selecting anymore because the mouse has been released after being dragged. And start this event user, this one here, defined. See? Now, at this point, you're thinking, well, what's going on here? Because in our left pressed, I was getting everything. I was setting it all to mouse X and mouse Y. That's why we're going to create a step event over here. And the step event is going to keep updating these two as it scrolls, as we drag. So we've got the step event, drag in some code. Obviously, if we are selecting, make sure that's right. Yeah. So if we are selecting, then firstly select that X2 and Y2 over here. These are going to keep updating as we move the mouse, just like that. And then here we're saying call that event. Again, that event user, call that again to make sure whether units are within this select. So that's why they will have that select ring around them as we move it over them, and if they're not in the rectangle, then the select rectangle will disappear. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Then lastly, we're going to create a draw event. Draw over there. Add some code. And here we're going to draw set color. And here we say make color green B RGB. Green blue, and I'm going to go for /x games lime, which is 183 224 31. And here we say if selecting equals true. So if we're drawing that rectangle, then we need to draw a rectangle, because if we didn't have this draw event, we'll be able to select without the player seeing any sort of rectangle being drawn, but that's a bit confusing. So we want to make sure that when the player clicks and holds down and drags, it's going to be drawing that rectangle, and it's going to keep updating that rectangle's dimensions. We want to make absolutely sure that the player can see what he is doing at all times. So we draw the rectangle, and here we don't have to say rectangle color because we've already made whatever is drawn after the statement that color. So here we just put our select X and our select Y. So let's just make sure this is all fine. Yep. Here we go. Grab all these. And our draw. I'm going to paste them over here. So that's our 1. And then we've got Y1. And then we've got X2. And we've got Y2. Outline true, obviously. We just want the outline. Done and done. So close that off. Save. Okay, so that's all done. Go into our room over here, which should be empty. Yeah, it's pretty empty. Go to our objects. Obviously, draw select has got to be somewhere in the room. Doesn't have a sprite. We need to have that in the room, otherwise we're not going to be able to use it. Create our minions. See, they've got the default civilian sprite. They will be given a sprite on start. So, let's save this. Hopefully when we click play, everything will go as planned. Who knows what might happen. So here we go, we've got our minions. We can click one of them. Yeah, he's selected. If I hold shift, I can click more. That is working. If I click anywhere else, deselects. See that? If I click a minion and right click, he moves. See? He moves. Notice they've all been given the same sprite, so we need to make sure that we are doing that create properly. But anyway, they're moving. If I drag this, see, it's working. If he's in the rectangle, he's going to be selected. If he's out the rectangle, it's not going to be selected. See? Very cool. And if I've got them all, right click, they all move. And in this case, all the same speed because they have the same sprite. Cool, huh? And when we right click, it tells them to move and it creates that animation briefly. And we can tell the player to move anywhere, well, this unit, we want. Check that out, as long as he's selected. And we can deselect him and he'll move there in his own time, whatever speed he's got. We can move them all to the same location about. Move them around. Notice they'll stop. See, when they get there, stop, 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 all stop. And their mission is accomplished. And from there they can do other things. Maybe they've got a line of sight and they see an enemy and they start shooting him. Whatever you could possibly want. Now quickly I want to jump back into that create of this object minion. Just make sure we're doing things right here. Yes, this needs to be irandom. Oops. Yeah. Unfortunately what I was doing, if you randomize it, then it can be all kinds of decimals. Irandom means whole numbers only. That's what we actually wanted. So save that. Okay. Play. And this will be fine. Now we'll have all kinds of different units, and we can see their different speeds. There we go. Pretty cool. So we don't have any workers, but we've got a civilian over there, we've got a civilian over there, move them together. Uzi guy. Then this is a shotgunner, that's another shotgun over there. And here's our dual pistols dude, see, he moves really quickly. Cool, huh? So now if I put them like in a line, like this, and then I tell them all to move at the same time, you'll see exactly how fast some of these are compared to the other ones. But look at that, they point to where they're going. See, they don't immediately turn and then start walking, they kind of walk as they turn, and it's more natural. So we select all of them, like a race, and we say, go. Look at them go, look at that. See, Dual guy is way faster than anyone else. Uzi guy is a close second. And we'll go to the same spot. Pretty awesome. So, I hope you found this tutorial educational helpful. Please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future tutorials, whack them right in the comments section. If you have any other comments, maybe need some help, I do look forward to your feedback. You can also find the project file right in the description. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include the final product as you see it right here. It's going to be full of comments. Great for people who like reading. Excellent. And then I'm also going to be including all the resources, so if you want to build this project along with me, you can have all these little sprites and stuff to play with, and ultimately get your project from a clean project of nothing to this level. And right at this point, I mean, this is a very, large part of RTS mechanics right down here. I mean, you could create buildings, you could create little timers, some sort of user interface where the player can create certain units. So you could have like a unit factory, and it could say, well, if you want to create a guy with a shotgun, or a guy with an Uzi, or a worker, or a civilian, you click something, and it has some sort of build time, and then he pops out at the bottom of that, and then from there, with this, click select mechanics, you'll be able to move them around with relative ease, just like that. So this is a really good start to an RTS concept. So I guess you can take this and create any kinds of awesome stuff. If you do use this tutorial to create something big, this is a really big part, do tell me about your game. This is excellent. What I want to do is I like to showcase some of my subscribers' stuff on my channel, the things they've made, learning great concepts that I have on show. Also, if you're looking for a little bit of exposure in your game, do that too. If you've made it through GameMaker and some concepts you've taken from my channel, let me know. I'd love to see the kind of stuff you guys are working on. That's really great stuff. So again, comment, rate, and subscribe. Check out my Facebook page. Project files are in the description. If you have any suggestions, let me know. The next tutorial I'll be doing is a continuation of the networking. We're going to be adding shooting and projectiles and stuff like that, sending that to all the clients and the server, and people dying and all kinds of fantastic stuff. So stay tuned for that one. If you like this tutorial as well as many of my other ones, you can check out my Patreon campaign where I'm trying to raise money to make this channel even better. Get a better microphone, new cameras, all kinds of cool stuff to, in actual fact, make the learning experience better. Maybe even remove ads if we can get enough funding. So links are in the description as well as the banner across your screen. Give me a shout, maybe send me a few bucks. I do appreciate your support and patronage. So until next time, happy coding, mess around, make some mistakes, learn a little, and I'll see you guys next time for another great gaming tutorial. Just for now.